the quiz component was trying to make a communication with the server and retrieve this URL, the questions for these quizzes, and the server is complaining, saying that, hey, you don't have access to this. Actually, it's not the server who's complaining, right? It's actually the browser who's complaining. It's saying, the JavaScript that is doing this query was downloaded from the domain localhost 4200, but it's trying to communicate with another domain which is running at localhost 3000, and browsers consider this to be a security breach, right? So the way it works is that today browsers will go out to the server and ask the server, hey server, there's this JavaScript that was downloaded from some other domain that is trying to communicate with you. Is it okay? And the servers can respond yes or no, right? And we do that. We configure that using CORS. So let's head over to our cheat sheet over here, where we have a configuration for CORS. We're gonna copy this, and we're gonna paste this inside of our server. So let's head over to our server configuration here. Here we have the Express library that we've configured earlier, and we're gonna paste in here the code we just copied, right? So this code, what it says is that this app.use, if you remember, app is an instance of Express we've instantiated, and we have used it before to define several endpoints, right? Here's a controller where we're using app to define a get. Here's another get, right? Where we can define get, post, put, deletes, and whatnot, right? And what those do is that they intercept specific requests, HTTP requests, based on specific types of methods, right? Depending on the verb that the HTTP request is using, either a get or post or delete. Here in the server, we're using app.use. So app.use is slightly different. What it says is that you're not going to intercept only the get or only the post or only the put. Here, also, you're not only going to intercept a specific URL. Here, the app.use, what it says is that you're going to intercept everything, right? Regardless of what the URL looks like, regardless of the method, if it's a post, put, for every single request that comes in to the server, you're going to do this, right? You're going to intercept it, and what you're going to do, you're going to add the following things in the headers, right? And this is how the server is going to communicate back to the browser and say, hey, it's okay, right? I know the script is coming from wherever, right? And I'm okay. I'm okay with requests coming from anywhere, right? Here in the first header, we're saying that these are the list of origins or domains that we are allowing to come into the request, right? We could be very optimistic and say star, meaning we are accepting requests from any domain. I don't really care who's communicating with me. Or we can be a little more specific, right? And say, no, we're only accepting requests from this specific other domain, right? You will probably need to do this if you deploy this into Heroku or you deploy anywhere else, right? You'll need to probably list that domain here. Also, we're configuring, saying what type of content we're accepting. We're saying which type of methods that we're accepting: get, post, put, delete, options. We're accepting everything, right? And later on, when we talk about credentials a little later next week, we'll see how this plays into maintaining sessions and cookies and whatnot. So this happens. This runs at the beginning of every single request that comes in, to the server. And notice that there's a next here. See that? Which says that first comes this executable, right? It runs this function here, but then, right, it lets the request continue for everybody else, right? Because we have a whole bunch of other controllers that are waiting for these requests, right? So all these controllers will see the request after the server has added these to the header. Okay, so these gets, these posts, right, will see the request a little later, after we have added these headers. Anyway, so this goes back to the client. The client sees that it's allowed, right? That the domain is okay, that the method is okay, and so the browser will say, okay, well, I'm going to allow the request to go through. All right, so let's restart the server here. So let's go back and try to hit the server again. There we go. So let's refresh. Okay, so notice that this time the browser let the communication go through. Right. Notice that the questions went out, right, and the data came back with the data that we were expecting. Okay.